The experience of making Stop the Virgens, it just completely changed me as an artist. It was like the first time I'd made something that was so euphoric and so free of suffering or frustration or pain. I was like, yeah, in my early 20s, and I was just like dark and, stormy and twisted. And then I had this thing happen, making this music, which was so free of that. That's just the most amazing thing that has ever happened to me.
Let's begin at the end, where we fall, and there's someone there to sing our sad souls to stand, and under our feet our toes. We could hold hands as we walk through walls home. It's me. I was always here.
We wrote Stop the Virgens, the music, in 2005. Me and Sam Spiegel got together after I moved to LA, and out of just having nothing really to do, he proposed that we just work on something. And the music just over like 2 weeks just came flowing out, almost just like kind of lightning, like conduit style.
I think up until like a few years ago, literally only a handful of people had heard it. We all kept it under lock and key.
But it was hard because I was so proud of it and I loved it so much and wanted to get it out there to the world. But yeah, I just knew how precious it was to Karen.
It's an incredibly personal song cycle for her, even though if you look at the lyrical content, I don't think you could go A, B, C, D, E, F, G and make a connected narrative. But just what it represents is an autobiographical, emotional journey for her that's very, very raw and very, she's putting it all out there in that way.
Stop the Virgens has been sort of the ace up my sleeve like for the last 7 years, and simultaneously like the albatross around my neck, because it's hard to have something that you love so much that you're just kind of sitting on for years and years and years and not doing anything about it. But I knew that, a day would come where we'd bring it to life.
Every few months or so, we'd be talking, and I'd be like, "So, what's going on with Stop the Virgens?" And there was a bunch of different ideas and conceptual incarnations of how it would be released.
What is this that you're setting up?
This is the stage for the first version ever of Stop the Virgens. First version that will ever be seen. Maybe the only version. We don't know yet. And this is the band.
KK Barrett is a close friend of mine, and we have a really similar sensibility, even though, he leans more towards high art and I lean more towards trash, trash art. It's a good balance.
Mythically, this story has the Virgins and all of the characters originating from space. And in the course of the songs, it's not as if they're bound in one place on earth or one place in time in their story. We jump and advance the story and advance the story and advance the story. And they kind of hop through times and worlds. One idea was that Karen was the narrator of their story, and the walls that they hit in life and lessons that they learned from them were taught to them by what we originally called cosmic nuns, and now we're calling sentinels. Because they're kind of the figureheads of older womanhood or older lessons in life. Because when you're young and wild, you don't want to hear about any of that. And that's really what the show is about more than anything. It's just a moment in time. It's a feeling.
We all met up in Williamstown, Massachusetts for a week and did what we called band camp. And everybody just hung out and we all learned playing the songs together and kind of figured it out together like that.
The time in Williamstown was really important in getting everybody synced up and on the same page and completely away from the distraction of their lives and of their work. And it really was just an opportunity to focus and to commune together with music and the project. So.
We thought it'd be fun and everyone would kind of have a blast and we'd kind of build our team spirit.
The first part of the process, which was really challenging for us, was just recreating the sound of the original recordings, which is this very specific feeling and sound, and then being able to transform that to a way that works with this sort of theatrical, much more complex production that these guys are doing.
I wanted to make sure that the design team was around that. Even just hearing the band working and hearing the bass line coming through the door, you know, does something to you when you're working. I thought like having the whole company together and being around the music was just a really good way to commune with the whole subject matter. So this is where we did all our production and design meetings throughout the course of the week. Mike, that's Mike. He's our dramaturg, and that's the window I could look through, and I could see Money Mark on the keyboards, and that was always a spirit lifter. He's like a wise man and a child, like combined, you know.
Adam was a writer who had written a couple books and staged his own plays and was a director. She liked the cathartic elements in his stories and the darkness in his stories. And she thought that it was just a really good counterpoint to the kind of sweetness that goes on here, even though there's a very dark, brooding element constantly threaded through.
Because it was so abstract and because it was so shapeless and formless, and we were really gonna find it, you know, in the rehearsal process, I felt like, you know, I was in good hands and really trusted his ability to really rein it in and make it sort of, you know, refined and tight and most importantly, emotionally engaging.
This is a breakdown of all the songs and sort of design, costume references and design references and lighting references, and you can see the world, the color of the whole piece kind of across the top, song by song. This is one of my favorite pictures that KK came up with. There's these Darger references there. Darger's a real big influence on Karen. I really genuinely think that everybody not just likes the music, I think they love the music, and I think it all reflects on Karen and how they feel about her. So. be working with the music and the choreography kind of simultaneously. And then once we understand the physical world a little bit, we're going to integrate the music on top of it. And then we'll start moving into the band room as they get caught up to speed with the music. Because the band has already been with the music for a long time. And we were up at Williamstown for a week this summer. And by day 5, they already had everything up to speed. They're incredible musicians. And what I want to do is integrate as quickly as we can. So as soon as we get, say, up to get them on the run, and we feel confident that we have something, then we'll be playing with them in there.
Adam comes from the theater world, and he's directing something where he's a writer, and yet we've stripped all the words away from him. He can't have an actor enunciate and turn a point with a piece of dialogue where a word has 2 edges. And instead, he's got to just control the motions through the players and their body movements.
I really don't think it's as important, you know, the skill that they can present physically, but actually their will to go through their own fears and, you know, that they're willing to struggle, you know, and go for it, you know. And it's much easier if everybody just is open to the game rather than struggling to be in it.
I could write a book on Mari. What she accomplished with this, you know, production was just like, it's unspeakable. I can't really put words to it. It's just like so amazing. The first rehearsal day, when everyone was there to throw themselves into the project, and it was like 40 women and I, and we did this sort of improvisational thing with Mari. She kind of just gave vague directions of what people were supposed to do, and then we all completely synchronized, and it was the hive mind, like immediately. But the hive mind with like really high stake emotions, you know. They ended up circling me and, you know, kind of picking me up, and it felt like a ritual, you know, felt like a ritual sacrifice or something. People were crying. I mean, it was super intense. That's when it dawned on me that I've spent like about 10 years surrounded by like 95% men. And here I am being encircled by like 40 plus women. I mean, 40, like, you know, it was insane. And it was of my making, you know, it's just like I'm the creator of this, and that's when it dawned on me that everything has been leading up to balancing that 10 years out with this production.
It's pretty unreal. Like, there are so many times where I would just like stop and look around that room at all of these super talented, amazing musicians that have done great things. I was just like floored by it. I was like, how am I here right now? How am I a part of this thing? Because this is ridiculous. The audience will walk into it like very confused and scared and uncomfortable, but then, you know, just be more and more entertained and enamored by everything going on, and hopefully their hearts will be broken at the end. Too. Hopefully we'll get him with that, because it's just such a beautiful cycle. Thanks for the ride. Peace.
Okay. So where? 1, 2, 3.
Where have we gone?
2, 3, 4.
Wherever we've gone, I have lost my tongue.
Much better. Much better.
Sounds really good.
She has a very laid-back approach to rehearsals. She doesn't have any demands to make on anybody. She's just in the room, like encouraging everybody. And it's sort of incongruous with like the brilliant music that she's written, which is these songs.
Everyone's talking, they say you may break out. Got no good reason to get in the game they doubt. Caught in the same, they saw your cloak. Running and running away, the chase you chose. Get 'em up! Get 'em up! Get 'em on the run! Get 'em up! Get 'em up! Get 'em on the run! Ha! Ha!
That's been really inspiring to know that like you can get 60 people in a room and you don't have to be a dictator. You just bring your positive energy and it happens. It's really cool.
I will fall back on. I will fall back on. I will fall back on. Get 'em up! Get 'em up! Get 'em on the run! Get 'em up! Get 'em up! Get 'em on the run! Ha! Ha! Get 'em up! Get 'em up! Get 'em on the run! Get 'em up! Get 'em up! Get 'em up! Get 'em on the run! Get 'em up! Get 'em up! Get 'em up! Get 'em up! Get 'em on the run! Get 'em up! Get 'em up! Get 'em up! Get 'em up! Get 'em on the run! Ha! Ha!
That was awesome, guys.
How's that?
Perfect.
Hey,
yeah.
Liz, can you give me the marker, please?
street by street.
Moving on the
I just want, it'll be over our wigs
Might as well go
too,
with the feet,
right?
I know.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
if it's not like super, super tight, that's okay, right?
Yeah. I used to work at the JRK store on 6th Street, just as like a shop girl, basically. And Karen used to come in all the time and just hang out, you know. And so we were kind of friends before Yeah or I started my thing. So we kind of knew each other before. And then one day she came in and said, hey, I have a band, you should listen to my CD. And I was like, okay. Like, you know, because a lot of times your friends will give you CDs and you're like, oh no, you know. And I listened to it and I was like, oh, this is really great. And then at the same time, I was kind of teaching myself how to like make clothes. And I had some with me one day and Karen saw them and she really liked them. She said, will you make one of these for me for our next show? Right after that was when they suddenly just blew up. And then I just kind of by default became her costume designer. So it was fun. It was really cool, the experience. Okay, one of the things that we're working on right now, or the interns are working on, are these sunglasses for Black Book. And all the virgins will be wearing these. They're not going to be in paper, but basically they'll turn around and they're going to have these sunglasses on. So that's one of the things we're working on. This costume is Get 'Em on the Run. And it's going to be all made out of hair. It's sort of that she's caught all these girls, or in the past, or like that she's caught them recently, and that she's wearing their hair. So she's kind of going like, you better listen to what I do or you're going to be turned into my outfit, you know? So that's sort of the idea. The Virgins costumes are a little simpler, like they'll just be wearing sort of these circles so that when they move, they're really kind of able to move around a lot and they kind of catch air and are moving. To me, it really does represent, you know, Karen throughout her career, you know, sort of just being this total maniac on stage, you know, especially in the beginning, and just sort of like that whole idea behind the little circles was she used to just, you know, just have things and just be putting them on, you know, and they kind of be like falling half off or, you know, doing weird stuff, or, you know, when she'd pour the beer all over herself. So it's supposed to kind of represent her sort of in the beginning of maybe just, you know, doing whatever she did, where she just kind of went crazy and like put the pieces on. I think she's a great artist. And I think she's really great about wanting to push the boundaries on things and stuff and not to stay in one spot or to kind of like, you know, just be a rock star.
St. Anne's is a warehouse. It's just a blank warehouse, 19 feet tall, about 100 feet long, that every time they do a show, it's reconformed. It's really a free-form sandbox for what anybody wants to do for a live event. And this is the version for this space. And if it's done another time, it might be completely different. But this is specific to this place.
How many days to the show?
We got five days. We put together this in like a few months. We've got over 100 people. And I mean, let's just say it's going very, very well. And you know, you've got people from all walks of life. We've got theatre people, music, film. I mean, it's a really eclectic group, and everyone, we're a big family.
Like, usually when you go to a Yeah 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 show, everyone knows all the hits, and this is pure stuff. You know, this is like the first time anyone's ever going to hear this, and it's going to be live, not something that's coming out of a, you know, MP3 player. And I think that's a really, really pure, exciting thing.
Everyone's been so concentrated on the details from the first day, sort of walking us through the narrative and making sure that we understand the story. And it's not just movement, it's not just song, it's not just pieces, that they're strung together. Our first audience is a week from today. Hoo-ah. We'll be ready.
I think it's going to move a lot of people and make people think about just the way that they make art or kind of take art in or take music in. And I think it's going to expand the possibilities of what people think they can do, and it's powerful stuff. So.
Chairs are overrated. They're like, actually, if we want to film you naked, we will. No, there was stuff. You signed papers.
And now, shake one hand into a circle, shake the other hand, and let's mother rock and roll.
We knew that we had done something amazing. We had become such a great family, and then it was all going to be gone. I think that made it so precious when we did it, that we knew that this is it.
Every time
I really wanted to, make something that was kind of a unique live experience that I would want to see if I wasn't doing it, Something with good music and emotionally engaging and like a bit of a spectacle, but still kind of caught you here at times.
I'm not a big theater person. I don't love musicals or plays, really. But this idea that we were kind of creating a unique experience that wasn't really easy to classify as far as any other shows I've ever seen or heard of, I think that's what attracted me to it.
I think it was just a primordial soup type thing where, it was all born of one spirit, one mindset. There was nothing on the line, nothing to prove, and I think that's why it's so joyous and why it's so good. And yet it all seems to belong together.
I understand more about this music now, like 7 years later, than I could possibly ever grasp when I made it. I was like, that sort of age and at that point in my life of what a lot of the voices and the characters are. It just caught me at this moment in my life where I was just so completely open for this just to come through.
I think up until like a few years ago, literally only a handful of people had heard it. We all kept it under lock and key.
But it was hard because I was so proud of it and I loved it so much and wanted to get it out there to the world. But I just knew how precious it was to Karen.
It's an incredibly personal song cycle for her, even though if you look at the lyrical content, I don't think you could go A, B, C, D, E, F, G and make a connected narrative. But just what it represents is an autobiographical, emotional journey for her that's very, very raw and very, she's putting it all out there in that way.
Stop the Virgens has been sort of the ace up my sleeve for the last 7 years, and simultaneously the albatross around my neck, because it's hard to have something that you love so much that you're just kind of sitting on for years and years and years and not doing anything about it. But I knew that, a day would come where we'd bring it to life.
Every few months or so, we'd be talking and I'd be like, so what's going on with Stop the Virgens? And there was a bunch of different ideas and conceptual incarnations of how it would be released.
We wrote Stop the Virgens, the music, in 2005. Me and Sam Spiegel got together after I moved to LA, and out of just having nothing really to do, he proposed that we just work on something. And the music just over like 2 weeks just came flowing out, almost just like kind of lightning, like conduit style. The experience of making Stop the Virgens, it just completely changed me as an artist. It was like the first time I'd made something that was so euphoric and so free of suffering or frustration or pain. So I was like, yeah, in my early 20s, and I was just like dark and, you know, stormy and twisted. And then I had this thing happen, making this music, which was so free of that. That's just the most amazing thing that has ever happened to me.